Op-ed, A Government That Can Feed the Hungry But Chooses Not to? By James Johnson III. There's a saying that the true measure of a nation isn't how it treats the powerful, but how it treats the hungry. This week, the Trump administration asked the United States Supreme Court for permission not to feed them. Yes, you heard that right. Documented by the court because it was filed by the DOJ. Yes, you read that right. In the middle of a government shutdown, while millions of Americans wait for food assistance, the administration went to court to stop the release of funds for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Serves roughly 42 million people across the United States. Meaning of those, nearly half, 44%, are children under the age of 18. That's 18 million children who rely on SNAP for consistent meals. About 10% are elderly adults over the age of 60. Another 12% are adults with disabilities. So now the remaining one-third are working-age adults. Many of them are employed in low-wage jobs such as food service, retail, or caregiving, where their pay is too low to cover both rent and groceries. A Rhode Island federal judge, John McConnell, had ordered the Department of Agriculture to fully fund the SNAP program after learning the administration planned to pay out only half. He directed them to use available reserves, even tariff funds meant for child nutrition, to cover the gap. The Trump administration's lawyers objected, warning that such an order might cause more chaos and cause a run on the bank by way of judicial fiat. That phrase says more than they intended. There's already a run on food banks, not the Treasury, as volunteers from Colorado to Carolina scramble to fill the shelves, left empty by Trump's political art and practice of pursuing dangerous policies to their limits. Families are skipping medicine, stretching groceries, and showing up in parking lots for boxes of bread and vegetables just to survive the month. Here is a reminder. On October 20th, 2025 at a press conference, President Trump was questioned by a female reporter about U.S. support for Argentina's economy amid a reported multi-billion-dollar assistance plan. President Donald Trump, when asked about his $40 billion bailout of Argentina. What do you say to farmers and Americans who feel that more than $20 billion is a lifeline to Argentina and is now coming at their expense? Trump's response was this. Look, Argentina is fighting for its life. Young lady, you don't know anything about it. So now, in the first time in the program's 60-year history, SNAP benefits lapsed at the start of November. Governor Maura Healey of Massachusetts said it plainly. President Trump should never have put the American people in this position. The Trump administration insists it's about fiscal control. But it looks and feels like punishment, political starvation disguised as budget management. Courts have repeatedly ruled that the federal government has both the means and the duty to meet basic obligations to its people. Yet, once again, power is being tested against compassion, and compassion is losing the vote. In August 2025, President Trump told Fox and Friends that he wanted to get to heaven if possible, saying that saving thousands of lives through his policies might help him do good things. It was a boast framed as faith, a suggestion that political success could earn divine favor. But by mid-October, aboard Air Force One en route to Israel, his tone shifted. Asked again about heaven, he said, I don't think there's anything that's going to get me in heaven. I may not be heaven-bound. The comment revealed a flicker of doubt, or perhaps fatigue, from a man who had earlier tied salvation to his own ambition. Together, the two remarks show a revealing arc. From the confidence of a leader who believes power and good works might open heaven's gates. Now, to the resignation of Trump who suspects he will not. Here in November, that uncertainty has found its court-room expression. The same president who once spoke of doing good things to reach heaven is now defending in open court his administration's decision to withhold full SNAP benefits from millions of hungry Americans. What began as talk of salvation has hardened into policy, and the judgment he once joked about now feels closer to earth than heaven. SNAP doesn't make anyone rich. It keeps a single adult alive on roughly $298 a month, less than the price of dinner for four at a Washington, D.C. steakhouse. It's the difference between hunger and human dignity. When leaders speak of shutdown chaos, they should remember, the real chaos is a mother skipping meals so her child can eat, or a veteran standing in line for bread in the country he once defended. America is not a nation that starves its people for political sport, or at least, it did not used to be. The Constitution begins with we the people, not we the powerful. No president, no administration, and no court should ever have to be begged to feed the hungry. The measure of a nation is not in its wealth, but in how it treats those with none. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, identifies himself foremost as a Christian, and his faith is central to his public identity and decision-making. Here are some key details that clarify how he frames his identity and public role. On his official Twitter, X bio he writes, Christian, husband, dad, attorney, noting Christian before his political roles. His official website emphasizes his conservative principles rooted in what he describes as God-given liberties, and a belief that America's founding is grounded in Christian values. He has a long background as a legal advocate for religious liberty causes and has described the U.S. as a constitutional republic grounded in biblical principles. Scripture reminds us of a powerful truth in the Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus says, Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Matthew 25 verse 40, these words come from the parable of the sheep and the goats, one of Jesus' final public teachings before his crucifixion. In this passage, Matthew 25 verses 31 and 46, Christ describes a time of judgment when the Son of Man separates the nations as a shepherd separates sheep from goats. The test is simple and profound: how we respond to hunger, thirst, illness, and imprisonment. The least of these are not faceless Americans. They are the living measure of our compassion. To ignore them is to deny the very faith we claim and the values that once defined this republic.